Hey everybody, Ben for the Bonehead podcast, and welcome to Blood Bowl 2025 Team Guides. We are looking at every team in Blood Bowl Season 3, and we're looking at the positionals, we're looking at the changes, we're looking at the roster, and we're looking at the kind of team you can run if you've run one box. Now, there are some teams that have lost some positionals, and Orcs, this team here, is among the one that's lost potentially the most. We've lost 2 blitzers and 2 big and blockers. However, this team, those positionals that remain, are kind of pretty handily reimbursed. I'm going to be as delicate as I can about this roster, but yes, the Orc team. So 60k rerolls, tier 2. Tiering doesn't really matter at the moment when it comes to tournaments. Check in with your tournament organizer. They will probably have a different tier listing than Games Workshop, and it doesn't matter for leagues. So they do get an apothecary, and then the stuff begins, because they start with Badlands Brawl, which affects the type of inducements they can take. They get Brawling Brutes. Now, this is a huge new change to this edition, and basically what it means is that this team gets 3 SPP for a casualty and 2 SPP for a touchdown, whereas most other teams will have it the other way around. So basically this roster now rewards smacking stuff, and that fits in very nicely with the Orc strategy. On top of that, they get a team captain. Now, a team captain is an interesting one. So Orcs and humans both have this rule. So when you build your roster, when you start building your roster, you pick a player that you start with, and that player becomes the team captain. Can't be a big guy, so don't go thinking, oh, I'm going to have a troll here. Now, the team captain gets the pro skill. No team value adjustment, they just get pro. And pro is the skill that allows on a 3+ you can re-roll a dice or a dice as part of a dice pool that isn't an armor roll. So if they take a dodge, you can pro it. On a 3+ you get to re-roll that doll. If you're making a 2-die block and it's skull and you don't have a team re-roll, you can pro it. 3+ you can re-roll one of those dice. It's a really useful skill. Now, additionally, you have to deploy your team captain whenever you set up for a drive. But while the team captain is on the pitch, if you use a team reroll on a 6+, you get it back. So if this player over there that's not your team captain, you need to re-roll it. So you use a team reroll, quickly roll a dice on a 6, you get that team reroll back in the bank, so you don't have to spend it. Potentially really useful, and it's a clever way of kind of buffing up the team without having to put a specific player. Now, if your team captain dies, you get to elect a new team captain, etc, etc, but I think it's quite a cool way of doing it. So the way Orcs used to play versus the way they play now has massively changed, really, because of the positionals, because of the amount of positionals, and the fact that you want to be punching stuff. Maybe that hasn't changed, but you're going to get rewarded for it with 3 SPP for every casualty, and you get one player who's your team captain with pro. Truth. All right, so let's look at the roster here. So 0 to 16 Orc linemen. Let me get the rulebook just so we are double checking things as we go along. Now, you can take all of those Orc linemen. You can also take 4 goblins, up to 4 goblins, and the goblins have the lineman tag here, which is very big, because if you end up needing journeyman, you get to choose a lineman. So you can take a goblin journeyman, which is quite interesting and a cool way to flex your team value. Now, the goblins on this roster are going to be one to watch, but we'll come back to that when we talk about the goblins themselves. So, 0 to 2 Orc throwers, and the Orc thrower hasn't changed. Has he changed? Did he have movement 6 before? I think he had movement 6 before. I feel really bad. Maybe he didn't have movement 6 before. I think he did. I think he did. So the Orc thrower hasn't really changed. Now, the Orc blitzer has changed. So he's coming in now, and he's got break tackle, and break tackle got better in this edition. So if you are a strength 3 or less player, you get +1 to a dodge in your turn. If you're strength 4, you get +2 to a dodge. If you're strength 5 or more, you get +3 for your dodge. Remember that when we talk about the troll and the big and blockers later. Now, the fact the Orc blitzer starts with that means that this guy is trundling around, and both of them, the first dodge they make every turn is going to be a 2+ dodge. So somehow somehow the Orc blitzers are just proper nimble. I can only assume it's that classic Orc thing of they believe it, so therefore it's true. And you know what? I think that transfers over. But realistically, what that does mean is your movement 6 dude is now going to be able to be where you want him to be. Like, a 3+ is not a given. A 2+ is obviously not a given in Blood Bowl, right? That 1's going to find you. But it does mean that your blitzers, who are movement 6 and they've got the block, like, they can be where you want them to be. They're going to get a 2+ reposition. And if you give one of them your team captain ability, they're going to get a 2+, and then they're going to have pro on top of it. So actually, the Orc blitzers are looking very good in this edition with that tweak. Right, the big unblockers. So, as a Black Orc coach, my Black Orcs aren't here, I am a bit salty about this because these guys are still movement 5 and they got all the stuff. So, yeah, all right, we cannot overlook the fact that they lost 2 blitzers and they lost 2 strength 4 blockers, but the strength 4 blockers that they've got have just been given the sweet shop. They've got Mighty Blow. They've got Taunt, which is a new skill, which allows you to force your opponent to follow up if they block you. Think Fend, but in reverse. So anybody who blocks you, you can be like, nope, you're coming with me. Nope, you're coming with me, which is like, it's like a defensive grab. It keeps them close. And often you are going to want a nice juicy target next to your strength 4 Mighty Blow piece. They've got Thick Skull and armor 4012, which means they are going to be sticking around as well, which is also really good. And don't forget, strength 4 is a pretty useful skill of its own. Now, they do have the unsteady rule, which means they can't use secure the ball. Okay, we've moved on from that. Cool. So they don't need to worry about that. The rest of the roster can obviously use secure the ball, and you've got 2 Orc throwers there potentially on your roster who start with sure hands as well. Now, the big unblockers are going to be fantastic. They are mini big guys. The fact they start with Mighty Blow and Strength 4 and no nega trait with the exception of Unsteady just means you are going to be opening up with a proper good couple of blocks every single turn, really, and that is just going to pile on. And then you've also got an actual big guy there as well in the Troll. Now, this Troll is an untrained Troll, so he's got Loner 4+, but he's got all the other Troll goodness. So realistically, you can start an Orc roster here with 3 Mighty Blow pieces right off the bat. All right, so let's talk about the boys who are going to be doing the murdering. So Orc lineman, solid position, or movement 5 is a little on the slow side. Strength 3 is good. Edge 3+ is perfectly serviceable. Passing 4+ is fine as well. That's going to come in a pinch. Armor 10+. So the cool thing about the Orc lineman is, yeah, they're a little on the slow side, but that armor 10+ is massive. This Orc lineman can basically go stand next to anybody and they will stay there the whole game. They are so good at that. Now, you've lost 2 blockers, so you are going to need some Orc linemen. But the fact is, they're cheap at 50k. They are super resilient. And this is the really interesting thing about this roster, is where you've lost the hammers, you've still got some great chaff anvils to put there. Like the Orc lineman, Edge 3+, pretty good. Movement 5, manageable. Strength 3, armor 10+. They are going to be sticking around. And general and strength on a primary skill access. I'm double checking that. Here we go. So you've lost the big uns, but the Orc linemen now become your guard caddies. So you can buff them up. You can take a random general at 3 SPP, absolutely. But you can then just use your Orc linemen to generate a cheeky bit of guard, and then they're going to help each other be additional Black Orcs. So this roster is it's almost self-healing. It's almost regeneration, because the pieces are there for this roster to be almost just as filthy as it was before. And talking about filthy, they've got goblins too. Now these are also linemen on this roster. So movement 6, fast for Orcs, strength 2, yeah, edge 3+, passing 3+, armor 8+. 8+ with strength 2 means they're quite vulnerable pieces. But let's come back to that. Passing 3+. This is the only goblin in the game that's got a passing stat of 3+. I wonder if this is going to get FAQ'd. So if you are watching this video later on and it's been FAQ'd, I will put it in the top comment so that you can see any FAQs that have affected this roster. But dude, turbo goblins, 4 of these guys with passing 3+, dinking, dunking, chucking the ball, could be a load of fun. And at 40k, goblins are just a bargain of a lineman. So it's going to be really cool. And I think we're going to see Orc rosters take more than just the one arbitrary goblin now. I think this is, if they stick up passing 3+, which I understand is not the best strategy, It just means they're a really super toolkit here as well. Now, dodge is really good. Dodge, right stuff, stunty. Right stuff means they can be thrown by a troll. Stunty means they're a little bit more vulnerable to being blatted, but they get to ignore tackle zone modifiers. So they are running around 3+ forever, except for prehensile tail and stuff, and they've got dodge in there as well. So they are a really useful ball carrier to just burst out and take that last 6 squares. A couple of 3++ dodges out there. It's a great way to be. But the cool thing about this guy, yeah. So agility on primary and devious on primary means that your goblin lineman should be on your orc roster, because this is going to give you very quick access to dirty player. You've got a whole bunch of fun devious skills. You've got dirty player, lone fowler. You've got some cool stuff you can do. But really, if you want a cheeky bit of fouling, the goblin is going to get you there. The rest of the agility skills don't really do a huge amount for the goblins here. And the other thing here is that in this new edition, the first secondary you take is at 10 SPP, not 12 SPP. So it does become a little bit quicker. Hey, even a stat up at 14 SPP. It's a long way to go for goblins, but if you really super do want a block or wrestle goblin, because a cheeky wrestle goblin in there could be really fun, you can save up to get it. But I think your goblin, you probably end up with 2 on the roster, 1 to be the guy who gets thrown and just take the cheeky dodge just to give you your kind of option, and the other one to be a dirty player just to chuck in and put the boot in, literally. So rounding out the other 2 of the 6 spots on this roster, they can take passing 3+. You've got the Orc Thrower. Movement 6, Strength 3, Edge 3+, Passing 3+, Armor 9+. This is the most basic stat line in Blood Bowl, with the exception of Passing 3+ being quite good. 75k with pass and sure hands means that the Orc Thrower, while besmirched for a very long time and just simply not taken by Orc players, you know, I think he's got a spot now for 2 reasons. 1, sure hands is going to be really useful. Yes, we've got secure the ball, but the opportunity to pick it up and carry running is quite good, especially when you are movement 6. And where you've lost 2 of those movement 6 blitzers, your Orc Throwers kind of become those extra blitzers. It's funny, you've got the linemen, the Orc linemen, who kind of become the guard caddies to play along and pretend to be big uns, and you've got the Orc Throwers here, and I think you're going to see these guys get blocked really super quick and become an Orc runner as well. And I don't think that's a bad strategy. Armor 9+ means that this player is perfectly resilient. So you chuck a block on an Orc Thrower and you've got a great Orc runner who can also participate as being a bit of a blitzer. And the fun thing here is if you go with a couple of blitzers, you go with a couple of goblins, you can take an Orc Thrower. You've got passing access, so you can look up, secure the ball for some extra movement. You can positively, absolutely take up accurate to get you that cheeky 2+ quick pass if you want to live the thrower dream that is the Orc Thrower. But realistically, I think taking them gives you cheap access to short hands, which is movement if you think about it in a lot of cases, but movement 6, edge 3+, strength 3 is primed for a block skill, and then you kind of backfill those extra 2 blitzer spots. But the first 2 blitzer spots should almost always, it would be obscene for you not to take both the Orc blitzers immediately. This is probably the starting point for this entire roster. Movement 6, strength 3, edge 3+, passing 4+, standard, good stats. Armor 10+ means this player is very tough, which is going to mean that over the lifespan of a league, they're going to get some SPP, especially because this is a combat-focused team with Brawling Brutes. And it also means that if you play match play or something like that, Armor 10+ is just going to keep them on the pitch for significantly longer. And the fact they come with block means that they are running around at speed 6, punching things, and block strength 3, armor 10+ is pretty resilient too. We've already spoken about the fact they've got break tackle, which means the first dodge of any turn the Orc Blitzer takes, they get +1 to that. So this is an edge 3+ player making their first dodge on an edge 2+, which is, well, it's automatic, right? That's how that works. A 3+ is don't do it. A 2+ is why would you not do it? Once per turn, when this player attempts to dodge, they may add +1 modifier to their agility test. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Boom. Straight away. Now, general and strength means your Orc Blitz can be caddied up in any sort of way. Historically, you may want a sure hands one. I think in this edition, your thrower starts with sure hands and then gets block and becomes your 3rd and 4th mobile combat piece. The Orc Blitzers in this one then become the mobile removal piece, and the fact they've got straight away access to strength means this is your immediate, yeah, like a bit of mighty blow potentially on that Orc Blitzer. I wouldn't go guard on the Blitzers in this edition. Yeah, movement 6 and that break tackle does mean that they can be in the right place, but your linemen are going to get guard and they're going to be friends with your front line. So actually your Orc Blitzer, potentially tackle if you're in a dodge heavy environment, mighty blow quite quickly to just allow you to keep farming SPP. And remember, 2 casualties from an Orc Blitzer is 6 SPP, which is just going to build you up fast. So I think the Orc Blitz is fantastic. I think he's really well set. That break tackle just means he feels really fast, and where you've only got 2, they become really important. So I think mobile tackle, mobile mighty blow, these are your mobile. They can score with them, absolutely can score with them all day, but they are your kind of like point and click removal devices. And then you've got the tanks. So you've got 0 to 2 big and blockers, and I think the first thing you do after you've bought those 2 Orc Blitzers is immediately buy a big and blocker. Now movement 5 is faster than Black Orcs, so boo, but also movement 5 is wicked when it comes to a strength 4 player. Edge 4 plus means he's not going to be dodging around too often, but actually that's not what he's here to do. Passing 6 plus means he can still make a throw if you need to throw the ball. Armor 10 plus with strength 4. Chef's kiss. And this guy comes with thick skill. So both your big and blockers, they're not going anywhere unless Nuffle has gone, yeah, you need to go lay down, because otherwise they are just toughing it out. 95k, is that right? That feels, yeah, it's a bit on the pricey side, but when you look at what they do, it makes a huge amount of sense. Now the fact these players start with Mighty Blow is great, but when you add in the fact that casualties are 3 SPPs for this piece, this becomes really good. So Mighty Blow just means that this guy, all he has to do is keep blocking. And that's all he wants to do. And the more blocks you make, the more chance Mighty Blow is going to spike, get a casualty, and get you some SPP. And then you're straight to 6 SPP before you know it. And it would be ridiculous, I think, to take anything other than block on this player, because then he becomes a block Mighty Blow piece. And while the movement 5 is a bit on the slow side, if you want to use them as big old linebackers, you can at that point. So a couple of other things with this player is break tackle, which we've just looked at on the Blitzer. Can be fun on the big and blocker, right? That means he gets +2 to his dodges. So the big and blocker is then dodging out on a 2+. That's a lot of fun. But I think this guy just absolutely wants to be in a brawl. So do what you want after block, because once he's got block and Mighty Blow, he is just smashing face. But if you want a strength 5 piece to smash face, you can take the troll. And it's really interesting because when you saw that this roster lost those positionals, you immediately went, woof, guess we're running the trolls now on the Orc roster. I don't know if that's automatic. I think the rest of this roster still does a lot of stuff. I think maybe you are going, ooh, I'm running some goblins now, and this Orc roster just got a bit faster. But you can also just go the heavy hitter route and take a troll, which is wicked, because that means you've got a couple of different Orc rosters in this environment, which is really fun. Now, the troll here, loner 4+ is going to be a bit of a nuisance, but movement 4 is fine, strength 5, edge 5+, passing 5+, armor 10+, it's cool. The advantage that the troll gives you is that he can throw a goblin. Always hungry means he might eat him. Really stupid means you're going to have to keep him in friends to keep him activating. Regeneration, armor 10+ and strength 5 is going to keep him around. Projectile vomit gives you the extra opportunity to just do some stuff every now and again. Mighty Blow, strength 5 is going to be great. The only downside here is that loner really is going to be a little bit risky. So if you are taking the troll, do your very best to give him 3 die blocks. But the angle here for the troll is you're probably running goblins, and what's better than a running goblin? It's a flying goblin. And in this edition, there's a couple of cool skills you can add. Bullseye means that if you roll a superb pass, your guy doesn't deviate. He just lands where you want him to land. That's pretty fun. The troll could be really good. The fact he's got strength access means you can get to brawler reasonably quickly if you want to do it that way. Remember, casualties, 3 SPP for this roster, so this troll is only 2 casualties away from taking brawler, which can be good. Grab can help control the ground. Guard means your troll can stand there next to 2 Orc linemen who can stand there next to 2 big and blockers, and you can go 2 die block Mighty Blow, 2 die block Mighty Blow, 3 die block troll Mighty Blow, and just clear out players on the line. There's a potential here for a lot of strength, but the cool thing is I think that the troll is an option. So if you want to go a bit more upside, but a little less reliable, you can take the troll, but you don't need to. All right, so you're looking at the Orc challenge and going, yeah, I feel like picking up a box of Orcs. This is what you can run with a box of Orcs. Now, this is, we're calling it the one box system, but this is like you go to Games Workshop and you pick up an Orc team. This is what you can run straight away. 2 big and blockers, 2 Orc blitzers, 2 Orc throwers, 6 Orc linemen, 3 rerolls. Comes in at 990k with 12 players. This is what you would be running, I think, if you picked up a box of Orcs and didn't want to do anything else with it. But then it gets fun, because we've just talked about the troll. You can have a troll, you can drop a thrower, drop a lineman, take a troll, have that mix in there. You can drop an orc lineman or two and take a couple of goblins and just have a bit of fun with moving stuff around. The apothecary is not the most urgent for this roster. You may think, like, with less positionals, now you want that sustainability, but both of your key positionals, the blockers and the blitzers, are armor 10 plus, so they are not super likely to die. Every now and again they're going to die and it's going to suck, but actually 10 plus is going to keep them around, so it's not the most important thing. Not a huge amount of block on the roster means you may want that third reroll. You don't have to. If you're a savvy orc coach, you're going to be able to use strength to your advantage. So you've got a ton of flexibility, but at the starting point with a single box of orcs, this is what you can run. And then you find a troll model you like, you find some goblin models you like, and you adjust and season to your taste. Okay, so Orky Orcs, I love this roster. The team captain there, being able to give a guy pro, who's not a big guy, gives you a lot of choices. I think a blitzer is probably the best target, but then you've got a pro, break tackle, dodging out on 2+ with a block piece. This roster's going to brew up and build up character really nicely, but it starts on day one as threatening in all angles. It's going to cook really good, and I really do like that, but you are not out of the game. And I think even though it's going to be a different team than the old 8 positional build, your throwers are going to be key now, potentially. You don't have to take them, but you might want that extra movement in a couple of pieces. You might want that short hands to be able to do stuff. You might want that pass 3++ to keep you in the game. And all you're really looking for is a couple of blocks, and you've almost filled the gap of the blitzers. So I really do like that. The fact the linemen have got strength means you can still brew up a miserable mosh pit in the middle. Yeah, I actually really like this roster. The old roster for Orcs was wicked. This one, you've got your guys are going to feel more special, and I think you're going to see some runners. The one watch out for me is that goblin with passing 3+, because it could be hella funny to run turbo orcs with 4 passing 3+ goblins and just pull off some shenanigans. Could be fun, could be FAQ'd. Anyway, let me know in the comments what you think about orcs in this edition, and we'll be back soon with more biblical content. Happy blocking.